Hello and welcome to an Everyday Canines video. In this episode on running contacts, we're looking at front feet hits versus hind feet hits. So when you're looking at discussions on running contacts, you'll often have people commenting and saying, do you reward front feet hits or hind feet hits? What does that mean? It's fairly obvious in certain ways. So if you're concentrating on focusing on rewarding front feet hits for a contact, it means as long as the dog gets its front feet somewhere in the contact, then you reward that, either with a click and a reward or a throw ball or whatever. The other option is you reward hind feet hits, which means you're not worrying about where the dog's front feet were, but as long as their hind feet are in here, you reward that. So you're focusing on one or the other, and you only reward one version. So as long as the dog is getting that piece of the criteria right, you're going to reward it. It sounds logical. So when I started with Sparrow, I focused on front feet hits. I was doing the Sylvia Turkman method because there are lots of methods for running contacts. Not one size does not fit all, and you often adapt things in that. When I was working on that, I concentrated on front feet hits. That seemed logical to me. As long as my dog was getting their front feet here, the back feet are probably going to follow through. Unfortunately with Sparrow, what I began to notice, and I noticed it more on video, and this is why it's very important to video your running contacts, because I didn't see it when I was just watching her, but when I was watching the video back, I saw that to achieve that front foot contact, she was doing some very scary acrobatics. So she would come down, and at the last minute, you could see she was going to fly the contact. And the last minute, she realised she had to put her front foot here. So she would be balancing all her weight on one front foot, and it'd be, and she'd get it. I would obviously have rewarded that because she got a front foot in the contact. But when I looked back at it, it wasn't good for her body in the way she was doing it. It was a risk of injuring a shoulder. Equally, it was not really a sound running contact. Yes, she got it, but wasn't sound. So then I switched to concentrating on hind foot contacts with her. But with her, she's always had trouble thinking where her rear feet are, never quite got it. Sparrow is a bit of a special case, bearing in mind she has got early takeoff syndrome, so I was a bit wonky. So I think that always plays a slight factor on where she thinks the contact is. I think she has a bit of a blind spot with the contacts. But I started to concentrate on hind foot hits. Now, she would get that. The problem I was getting, and I've seen it, now I've had the mistake, I see it quite a lot with other contacts, is very often when she was running down, she would nail the hind foot contact like this and go off. I was rewarding that because it was a running contact. My criteria, I'd asked for hind feet in the white area. There might not have been a front foot, but never mind. The problem was what she was actually doing, she wasn't running. She was actually running to here and then putting her back feet together and springing off, because when you put back feet together, that means you're leaping. When you're running, your back feet should be split, because then you are actually genuinely running. So I ended up with a dog, and she still does it, who runs down, puts her back feet together and leaps off the contact. And sometimes I will get a proper running, but most of the time I get this leap off. Never quite been able to adjust to that. I mean, she's 7 now, and as I say, she was very much my experimental dog with contacts, if you like. So we've gone through a lot of different variations with her and gone through a lot of mistakes. So she suffers from that slight arrangement. And I'm going to show you what her contact looks like, I think, so you can see what I mean. Sparrow. So let's see what we get here. Run! Now that was actually quite a nice contact in many regards, but you probably saw that she bunched her feet. They were not split. They may have been slightly split. Though I could call that a running contact, technically, it isn't, because her back feet are bunching, she's springing off. You can get away with that. It can get away with it quite easily. And for a lot of the time, it's okay. What I have is sometimes when she gets really excited, she's moving really fast, we then lose it. We miss that contact completely. We spring off from earlier on because she is effectively leaping off the contact. So, though all my criteria fitted in there, in fact, she got front and back feet in there, it's not quite right. I have now moved on with my criteria that I look at a bigger picture when it comes to a running contact. There's no one thing that I'm particularly looking for as such. It's a whole big thing. So I've got a lot of ideas going through my head when I'm watching a contact. I'm no longer focusing on front feet versus hind feet. I'm looking at the whole thing. What I want from a contact is I want my dog to put at least one front foot into the contact area, and I then want them to follow through nicely with their hind feet, so both hind feet should hit and they should be split. So if I do with Swift, hopefully we shall be able to get a good demonstration of this. So what I'm looking for is front feet and back feet. Run! Go! So what I'm getting with Swift is a complete picture. I'm getting front feet, hind feet, and she's running through. She's coming all the way through. She's not jumping off from here. It's a hard thing to describe, but when you look at the two videos you'll see it. Sparrow is effectively jumping as if there was a pole here. She was jumping it to finish, whereas Swift ran through. That's what I mean when I say I'm looking for front feet and hind feet, but also I'm looking at other factors as well surrounding that running contact, and we're going to look at them more in depth in other videos because there's a lot going on here we need to consider. One final thing, that is a really nice running contact from her. My criteria technically is front feet, hind feet in the white. However, when Swift is really motoring, she can get so deep with her front feet into the white that she can miss her hind feet completely, yet she is technically still running. Now, because I want that speed and I want that flow, I don't want her stuttering along here, I'm not going to fault that. As long as I know those front feet got here, and as long as I know it was a run through, and this is why you have to look at the bigger picture, as long as I know it was a run through, that is okay. Now, that's what I mean about getting this. You have to get away from the little minutiae. You have to look at that whole image to get an idea if your dog is doing it properly. Because if I said to myself, oh, that was nice, she got her front feet in, but her back feet went in, I'm going to reward it. Next time she might start to slow up to achieve that. Then we could end up with the bunching like we get with Sparrow. So she's jumping off to get those hind feet in. I don't want that. I want this beautiful flowing motion. So she's flowing all the way down. So that's why we have to think of things in this way and understand there's a lot going on with this little contact area, and there's a lot we need to be aware of. But that is basically it. So basically I do not focus on front feet, hind feet. I want to see all feet. I am looking at them getting at least 3 feet in the contact, 1 front, 2 hind. Ideally we'll have 4, even better. But I'm also looking at my dog's motion. Are those hind feet split or are they compressed? If they're bunched together, no, I want them split. And I'm also looking at the overall motion and where they're coming through. I know that's a lot to take in, a lot to think about, but it's part of that running contact journey. So I hope that's all made sense to you. And if you've got any questions, of course, you can come on the Facebook page and ask me questions there on YouTube. I'm always open to answering questions. And if you've enjoyed this video, you might like to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And you can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And I hope to see you all again very, very soon.